The minute you get children involved in creativity, there will be mess and waste, but nothing you do for a child is ever wasted.
I am so happy to welcome you home today, and especially to welcome you to the Secret Garden. This is a little garden just outside of my home where I like to go and hide out. Today, I want to talk to you about creativity in the home, because those little people who've come to your home are carrying great talents and abilities with them, and you need to help foster that creativity. It's one of the biggest jobs that you have. Today, I have one of my dearest friends. Elspeth, come on in and join us.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Elspeth Young. I want to ask you some questions because
please do.
I know that you have been experimenting with art since the time that you were a very little child. Would you tell me, first of all, about your parents, both your father and your mother?
I think the first thing that I learned from Mom and Dad is to trust the creative spirit that God has planted in us. And it doesn't matter whether or not the world oohs and ahs, but they taught me that to create, even if it's in the shadows, is treasured by our Heavenly Father. The minute you get children involved in creativity, there will be mess and waste, but something that my mom has quoted to me many times is, nothing you do for a child is ever wasted. And I certainly found that in my life. No effort my parents made to engender creativity, to notice things that I was interested in and help explore them, was ever wasted. It didn't mean that I became a professional musician just because Dad shared his love of music with me. They gave me a complete palette, if you will, of choices to discover, to try, to make messes, to waste things, but it didn't waste because it directed my focus to what I really identified with, what I really loved.
I want to ask you, before we go any farther, to kind of describe where your father's studio was in your home and where you would have thought your mother's studio was in the home.
Dad's studio, that was a magical place. Saturday mornings were studio time. And that was just time where we could sneak into the studio. It was really fun because Mom's kitchen studio is here and Dad's studio is just east, and they were connected. So Saturday mornings when I was little, I smelled Dutch pancakes and linseed oil and turpentine. So it was all mixed together.
Quite a combination.
It's quite a cocktail, yes, but just magical. Saturday mornings were my favorite time of the week. There is no question in my mind that Mom's studio was the kitchen, and it was a favorite place to be. I loved Mom's studio. When Mom married, she couldn't cook, but
Well, she took care of that.
she certainly did. And that's one of the things I admire so much about Mom is she really gives all her creativity. She doesn't stint when it comes to sharing it with her family. And her kitchen became a place where it was filled with research. She'd watch how-to shows on Saturday mornings, watching Jacques Pepin prepare something. She'd try, and out of that, she discovered that part of her creativity is she will create her own recipes.
Yeah.
She would create something new by accident, and we'd say, what did you put in it? Can you make it again? And
Maybe.
Absolutely. And we'd say, well, write it down. And out of that, grew a bit of a cottage industry. But I know that Mom would be doing it whether we were publishing anything or not.
How did they give you positive reinforcement they didn't criticize, I would think? Help me with that. Help me know what they did.
I think the thing that they did was they saw possibilities and they complimented everything they could. But they never made me feel like I'd arrived, and it wasn't because they said, well, that could have been better. They just praised what was best, whether it was my effort or some aspect of the result. They just took time with it. They didn't just say, "Oh, that's nice, sweetie. Go do something else. Go out and play," or you haven't arrived yet. They rejoiced in it with me. I think children are much less likely to feel like failures than teenagers and adults. And it's a wonderful time to get in there and really, really nurture and compliment anything that can be complimented. So they were as likely to praise my handwriting as they were anything I did with a brush.
What are some of the things that you tried that you didn't
fly?
Didn't fly.
Well, Dad would be the first to say piano lessons. But I ended up picking it up later. I watched my peers, the kids at school, and I thought, I want to be able to do that. And then wanted to approach it again. So they were very calm about my attention span over years.
I would like to say to all those mothers and fathers out there who have spent hours on the piano bench and who feel like they've put in, half of their life getting a child to play, and then suddenly the child is not interested again. Have some patience. Do whatever you can to keep them on the bench. But if you just can't, know that whatever you have given them, whatever they have done, is a blessing for them. And it could come back. I'm about to ask you a really tough question to answer. What in your life didn't go the way you expected or wanted?
Well, I certainly never expected to be single. That's for sure. I expected to be a thriving young mother with a whole brood of children, and that my creativity would be needed exclusively in the home realm. I didn't expect to have a wider audience for my creativity, and would have felt very content to be painting things on my walls and encouraging my children's creativity. That hasn't been a blessing that I have experienced yet, and it has been unexpected, but it's so wonderful to have an ability to still channel that creativity that is just intrinsic in motherhood. It is impossible to not be a creative being and be a mother. But I'm grateful that where that creativity is on hold for me, that at least my parents engendered in me the desire to develop my gifts and abilities.
We've had just the most lovely time today. Please remember always that what you are doing is immensely important in life, and that your children will rise up and call you blessed for so many reasons. Don't be discouraged when things are messy and maybe a little wasteful. Just continue to give them opportunities to be creative. I'm crazy about you, and please remember that home is the best place on earth to be. Dear friends, I think creativity is basic to our natures as children of God. We love His creations, and we love to create on our own. So if you know someone who loves to create, please share this wonderful video with them.